Can you become the category leader? And the key element of that is, can you unlock growth? Before we unlock growth, the ideal head of sales is an explorer type. Even though the product doesn't completely work, they're still able to find that path through the wilderness.
Nahm is a world-class venture capitalist and visionary business author
who has invested in 11 unicorn startups.
It's like building a sports car and you just put in a better engine, it just performs better. It's great. If they go back and sort of fine-tune the model a lot, then I worry.
If you were founding a new startup in 2025, what market would you be betting on?
Well, as I mentioned, we're going all in on.
Welcome back to Decoded. My name's Alfie Whattam, and this is the show where I speak to experts about what it takes to build great teams and companies. Make sure that you click the follow or subscribe button for more great content like this, and I hope you enjoyed the episode. So you're the co-founder of Storm Ventures, which is invested in 11, 12 unicorns, something like that. How do you do this? I'm an angel myself, and I'm always looking for exciting deals. But what do you look for when you're deciding to invest in a startup?
Well, we've invested in 300 B2B software companies over 25 years. And what I look for is really, I'm asking the question, can this company become a category leader? And ideally go beyond being a category leader and being like a mega category, multi-category leader. But the first thing I'm looking for is, do I feel like there's a path to category leader?
So how do you determine that? Because if all you've got is a 10-slide pitch deck and 2 hours of meetings with some young, smart, hungry people, how do you know if that's going to become the next Uber, Airbnb, Spotify? How do you know if it's going to be that market leader?
So that's a great question. And what I look at is the following sort of three things I look at. One is I just look at the market. Do I believe it's going to be a big market? That's because of the disruption. And the metaphor we use here is, do we think it's going to be a big wave? So if we think it's like an open spot and a big wave, we'll just jump in. And so we've incubated companies, we invest in pre-seed companies, and a lot of times when we just really like the wave, like in the beginning, 15 years ago, it was the cloud wave. And so we invested in a couple of hundred cloud application companies, SaaS companies. We're big believers in the AI wave. So one is we just think that there's such an open spot in the wave that we just want to do a deal. Another is we just believe the person's a phenomenal surfer, and we'll find the open spot, we'll surf the wave and make it successful. So we just invest in the surfer. And companies like Techion is an example of the second. And the first is like Mobile Iron, but the Techion is an example of the second. And the third is they're just getting very good traction. So they're surfing the wave. An example of that is like TalkDesk. We invested in TalkDesk when they're about $1 million in ARR. So we like the early traction. And obviously, if a company has all three, it's the best. But we're looking for at least one of those three that we think is an A+. If the three categories are like B pluses, it's not as exciting.
Okay. When you're investing, especially at sort of pre-seed stage, I understand that having, the right market and the right founders are probably non-negotiables, but a lot of people listening to this show, they might not have the traction. I mean, they might have a wait list, they might have some letters of intent, but in terms of MRR or ARR, it might not be quite at that point yet because the product's still being built and they're very, very early.
Yes.
Are you flexible on that third point when you're investing at a very early stage?
Yes. In fact, especially right now, a lot of the deals that we do are pre-revenue. And by definition, pre-revenue is pre-traction, right?
Yeah.
But what we look for there is like an exceptional founder, that great surfer. And so obviously the person's history helps, but The one thing that I would recommend, advice I would give to like first-time founders is really learn how to do founder storytelling.
Mm.
So being a great storyteller before revenue is really helpful. And the other is that, as I said, it's just the market opportunity that we think is going to happen. So the opportunity like today that I see is it's very similar to this reflects how old I am, but it reflects back to the internet. When the browser came out in 1994, it gave everyone a taste of the internet, and then it resulted in all the dot-coms afterwards. In the same way, I think ChatGPT came out and it gave everyone a taste of the power of AI, and we're going to see an explosion of .ai companies,
Yeah, yes,
AI apps.
absolutely. Okay. A lot of the times when I speak to VCs and investors on this show, they hold a very similar opinion. I mean, a lot of this is pattern matching with the
Yes.
right people,
Yep.
the right team, the right market, the right opportunity, the right time. What's an unpopular opinion that you hold in venture? What's something that you believe which may be a bit contrarian, which other people might not agree with you on?
That's a great question.
It's a hard question.
It's a very hard question. I think well, the first thing is that as a firm, we're much more focused on the application layer of AI than the lower levels of AI. It doesn't mean that the model layer is not great or the infrastructure layer. I mean, there's going to be gigantic markets, but we think that that's going to be a lot tougher, and so we're primarily focused on the AI application layer.
I certainly agree with you as somebody who is running a VC-backed AI application layer startup, right? So I have to agree, obviously. I feel like the foundational layer companies are so established at this point that it's very hard to come along and try to compete with OpenAI or Gemini. You're probably going to get your lunch eaten if you're going to go after Claude at this point.
I think so, but I think the bigger problem that the foundational model companies have is that I think Google will make Gemini basically free. In the same way with the internet, Mosaic was the browser that gave people a taste, and so that led to Netscape doing very well. But then Microsoft pivoted to go right at Netscape, and the key weapon is to commoditize the browser. In the same way, I think the foundational model will become commoditized from a pricing standpoint because of Google, because they'll bundle it with all their other services.
This is a quick message to tell you about my company, Alpha AI. We built Lisa, the world's first AI-powered recruiter who screens candidates for you on autopilot. You can make your recruitment process 10 times faster, 90% lower cost, and significantly improve the candidate experience, all with our AI agent for hiring. Learn more at welovealpha.com or click the link below in the description. And now, back to the episode. A lot of people, and obviously not you, given you're investing in the application space, but a lot of people are worried that the vast majority of these application layer companies are going to be wiped out with ChatGPT 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever. And there's obviously a lot of companies that will be, that are building, and there's not much moat around them. And I think that's a fair comment for a lot of businesses. And then you have those that have their own data set and their own moat, their own property. But what's your view on people that kind of have the belief that the application layer is not going to be very solid because of the updates coming within the foundational models?
So I look at that. I mean, so we look at certain type of application layer companies. So I'll give you some heuristics I look at. One is I ask them question: will the application automatically get better when the next generation model comes out? Mm-hmm. It's like building a sports car and you just put in a better engine, it just performs better, then it's great. But if there's conflict, or you have to go, in particular, if they go back and sort of fine tune the model a lot, then I worry. Because fine tuning just takes a lot of work. It's customized for a particular model. The next generation model may do that, or you have to redo it. So fine tuning the model is something I'm less interested in as sort of the key value proposition. But I really just asked the question, models are going to get better.
Yeah.
And will your application automatically get better?
And it's those companies that are building in that AI first approach. In my opinion, every legacy SaaS company or just every legacy tech business is going to be replaced or at risk of being replaced by an AI first version of that business. Because if you're building on those models, they're getting better and better,
Yes. I absolutely agree with you on that. But I go one step further in saying that in thinking about what is AI first, I look at it as is that there's like a natural evolution of the AI model, the foundational model. And so it's like watching this giant wave coming at you. And so if you can surf the wave, then that's great. And if you want to fight the wave, like in a way, fine tuning or trying to say that it can be suspect. Like a specific example is maybe optimizing for voice, because the models today are not doing voice as well as it can. Well, we know that they're going to do voice. Another is like video. So the models are not truly multimodal yet, but the desire is to make it truly multimodal. So those are examples of which if I see an app layer startup providing a lot of value to compensate for current defects in the model, I worry about that.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, before investing, you were the founding CEO of Airspace, which was sold to Cisco for $450 million. An extraordinary outcome. What separates massively successful founders from the vast majority that just don't make it?
Well, maybe it's I think there are two things that are really critical. The first thing is, as I mentioned, is the company really has to become category leader. So can you become the category leader? And the key element of that is, can you unlock growth? So I think, if the company and the founder can unlock growth, then and then be on track to make category leader, then we find that companies generally make it. They're like in the Gartner Magic Quadrant or Forrester Wave, and growth investors love to invest in them. Big companies love to buy category leaders. People like to buy prize homes versus fixer uppers, and so the outcomes there are good. So the first is can they become category leader by unlocking growth? But the companies that really do well are the ones that can transcend being a category leader, and there requires a founder CEO that can continually improve himself or herself, and that requires them to unlearn certain skills. And but it goes back to we look at how the startup can succeed and what the founder needs to do, and sort of track those two things together.
When you say they'd have to unlearn certain skills, is there anything specific which comes to mind, which you've seen perhaps time and time again?
Yeah, and it reflects the company's journey. So I'll give you two examples. One first for a CEO and one for a VP of sales. So when the company is early and you have like let's say less than 25 employees, the CEOs that we see that tend to perform best in that stage, we call like Captain America. They're in the trenches, they fight with the troops, they're like the superhero, they make all the decisions, everything flows with them. It's like in the morning they meet a customer, in the afternoon they talk to the team, in the evening they write code, all that kind of stuff. But then as the company grows beyond usually 25 employees, you want a CEO who's not so much a Captain America superhero, but is good at leading a band of superheroes, like a band of Avengers. And so it's about how you can lead and manage other superheroes. And then as the company gets to a couple hundred employees and bigger, it's about being like Professor Xavier, and it's like building a school for superheroes and that kind of stuff. So you can see the CEO transition. But if you bring in someone that is trying to build this school and all that early on, the execution's slow. The Captain America profile can do exceptional things. In the same way as like that head of sales. Because that's a common question we get from founders who's never done sales before, strong technical background. And so they ask, who should we hire as the head of sales? And so we say that before we unlock growth, before we have that sort of repeatable path to acquiring and growing customers, before we unlock growth, the ideal head of sales is an explorer type.
Okay.
Who can explore through the wilderness and find a path and not be freaked out by not having a map or not having supplies or all this. In other words, even though the product doesn't completely work, don't have all the product documentation, all that, they're still able to find that path through the wilderness. As soon as you find that path, the head of sales that you want is like Mel Gibson and Braveheart. You want a warrior leader that will go out, fight the bigger enemy, even if they're 1,000 times bigger, have no fear, win deals, and so forth, and is great at hiring other warrior leaders. But if you hire a Mel Gibson, a warrior leader, before you have the path, the person goes out, hire other warriors, and they get lost in the woods and they all die.
I'm loving these analogies. Surfing, Mel Gibson. This is a great way to visualize what you're describing.
And so going from an explorer to a warrior leader is a very different mindset.
Yeah.
And then as the company gets even bigger, then the head of sales has to go through another transformation. Instead of being a warrior leader, has to be good at managing warrior leaders. And an example of that is like Dwight Eisenhower on the Western Front, who was, managed the British Army, the US Army, French, Canadian armies, but he was not viewed as a warrior because he never fought in battle. And so it's hard to go from a warrior leader to a general, like in the staff room, because the warriors all think you become a traitor, and you lose respect because you become corporate.
Okay. And do you feel like one person can evolve and do those different stages, or do you feel like it's more sensible to hire people that have worked in those types of zones? Because it can go horribly wrong. Like you get, Steve Jobs can hire John Scully, and then it's somebody that's not the right fit for that stage of business. Right. Do you feel like the founder should try to adapt and mold and become that individual over time, or do you feel like it's a better approach to get people in that can meet the needs of the business at that time? What works better?
I mean, what works the best if the founders can evolve and grow. Yeah. Because they have the passion, and most importantly, a skill set I think is critical is they can read the wave. So you can, by reading the wave, come up with the right product and market strategy. I mean, if you look at companies like Intel, for example, they didn't read the wave correctly. Nokia with smartphones. The SaaS companies you're talking about, they have to read this. So exceptional companies, I find, are the ones that the founders can change. So if you look at a lot of the successful companies, like Meta and others, the founders can evolve. But at the same time, it's very hard to do. And so a lot of founders can't do that.
Yeah.
It's not just founders, but any executive. Yeah.
Okay. So if you were in those people's shoes today, like if you were founding a new startup in 2025, what market would you be betting on?
Well, as I mentioned, we're going all in on AI application. So basically, it's thinking of AI as this giant wave that's going to hit every area.
Is there an area in particular that you would go into? Because AI application layers covers, it covers everything to a degree, or white collar work at least. Is there a certain pocket of that which you would focus on?
We're hitting just about every. We'd like to go fully across the board. I mean, it's just like SaaS. I mean, we invest in a couple hundred SaaS companies, Marketo, Workato, others, and I think our mistake is we should have invested in 400. So the ones that we turned down. So yeah. So we like to go across. It's just that it's trying to find that open spot in the wave. And having someone who can really read the wave correctly, because it's a giant wave going through so many changes.
Okay.
And in particular, as I said, it's like the models are great, but they're also becoming free.
Yeah.
Because of Google. I think Google will make it's going to drive the economics of the model.
And Meta, to a degree, trying to open source a lot of Llama and bring the costs down.
They do, but Google, I think, has a better model.
I agree. Yes.
Because it's also core to their business.
Yeah.
And they'll have the lowest cost structure because they're building their own. Because they're building the model for their search business. And so it's not just Gemini, it's also they're building their own semiconductors, they're building out the worldwide infrastructure to do, because they're switching from regular search to AI search, right?
Yeah, they are way more vertically integrated, yes.
Yes, and so to do AI search worldwide, the semiconductor, the infrastructure, the compute, the tooling, that entire investment, and then to offer it for basically free as part of their GCP offering.
A lot of the ideas that you've shared in this podcast are in your book series, Survival to Thrival. Could you tell us a little bit more about your writing? Just give us a high-level summary of kind of the key themes and ideas.
Yes. So we wrote 2 books, and Bob and I did, and Bob and I worked we wrote 2 books, and then there's like a third that's sort of in progress that we're releasing through workshops and chapters. So the first book is basically the company journey, and the whole idea is to help founders anticipate what's going to happen next and understand why. So we broke down the company journey into 5 different stages, because at each stage you have different investors, you have different strategy, different people that you need to hire, and so forth. And then talk about what you need to do to succeed in each stage. And the most important stage, as I mentioned, is to unlock growth so that ultimately you can win the race to category leader. The second book is on the people journey. And it was talking about the CEO, the VP of sales, it happens to every single role. As the company grows and goes from one stage to the next, your ideal person will change. So I was like in a board meeting where the CEO says, our VP of sales is a superstar, you should track him as his future CEO, blah, blah, blah. 6 months later, he says, I want to fire my VP of sales. And it's not that this person did anything bad or anything, it's just the company grew to a different level. And now in the third book, what we're doing is we found that those concepts people like, but people want very specific practical advice, like how to unlock growth.
Okay. And
so then we've come up with an actual methodology on how to unlock growth, where we use, going back to the wave metaphor, we say it's like you want to like catch a wave. And the key to catching a wave is to make your champion a hero. And
Who's,
so we
who's the
run,
champion?
yeah. Well, the first thing is, you'll be amazed is uh, uh, people many times do not agree or define, say, who is my champion?
Yeah.
Because like if you sell to Barclays Bank, I would say Barclays Bank doesn't buy anything.
Yeah.
There's someone at Barclays Bank that buys it. And so that person that drives it, takes ownership, and so forth is your champion.
Mm.
And if you don't have a champion, it's very hard to get a deal through. So you need a champion. And as I said, the key to unlocking growth is how to make your champion a hero. And a hero is like an industry celebrity, get promoted, to really become strategic to their career.
Mm. I love
And
that.
so,
I love that. Most people do not think in that way. They are trying to sell a product. They're not trying to elevate the ICP to the level of a celebrity.
right, it's about it's not about selling product, but it's about making your champion a superstar.
Yeah.
Into a hero. And if you tie that with the wave, then you can find many people like that, and you can create a movement, you build community. That's how you build a category.
Mm. This has been excellent, certainly for me. I've learned a lot. For people that have listened, and if they've enjoyed this, if there's one place where they should go, would it be your LinkedIn, X, the fund's website? Where should they go to?
Well, I mean, we're making this public for everyone, so they
Yes.
can go to survivalof thrival.com, and the 2 books are there for free. And also, what we've outlined, because we run workshops with our companies, is this whole what we call path to surfing unicorn.
Yeah.
And then we have 9 different workshops / episodes where we're addressing each one, such as founding the company, finding product market fit, unlocking growth, winning the race to category leader, and so forth.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay, no problem. Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you click the follow or subscribe button wherever you're watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Introducing Lisa, the world's first AI-powered recruiter. She's an AI agent who works 24/7, screening candidates on autopilot, conducting interviews in 30 different languages, uploading all the best candidates to your applicant tracking system. Hire 10 times faster at 90% lower cost and significantly improve the candidate experience. Visit welovealpha.com to start your free trial now.